Welcome to Streams of Income, hosted by best-selling author and entrepreneur Dr. David Powers, where we discuss streams of income, passive income, residual income, and even why there are dinosaurs and zombies in this intro. Fasten your seatbelts and get ready to dive in.
Okay, we are here for another episode of the Streams of Income podcast, and with my special guest, Miss Christine Kersey, and I've got a stack of books here written by her, and I've read them all. And so I'll tell you the story about how I met you first, and then we'll jump into some questions and stuff. So this first book, The Pandemic, book one, I was at an antique store in Kentucky on vacation, and I live in South Carolina. And so I saw this, it was $8. I think it was $8, which, they sell for more than that on Amazon, obviously, but it was resale for $8. And I was sitting there, I was holding it, I was reading it, I was thumbing through it, because you know how there's a lot of bad fiction out there. Even if it's picked up by a major publisher, some of it's just horrible.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what, for $8, I'm going to try it because it sounds pretty good, apocalyptic, post-apocalyptic fiction. I'm big on the EMP and pandemic stuff because it's already happened, or in stages it's already happened. Both of them have. And so I picked it up, and the rest of the vacation, I was just reading that book. My wife was fussing at me because every chance we got, I was opening the book, reading it. And then I got in touch with you, and I bought all your books, or all your apocalypse books. And I thought, I'm going to try to get all these read before I talk to her. That was about a month ago, and I finished them way quicker than that. Some of them I read in one day, and some of them took a little longer. The stories were just so good that I hated putting it down. It was one of those where I would be walking through the house with a book in my hands, just reading and bumping into the kids and stuff. So I guess my big question, because you've got a lot of different types of different genres that you write in. So what brought you to the apocalyptic fiction side of things?
I started off writing suspense, but I've always loved the post-apocalyptic genre. It's always fascinated me, kind of what would happen if things were brought back to the basics of just survival. That's the thing about the post-apocalyptic genre that I find fascinating is you don't have social media, you don't have to go to work or worry about paying bills, you're just trying to survive. And so that's kind of what drew me to that genre. And then when I decided, by that point, by the time I wrote Pandemic, which I started in 2018, before COVID.
It was almost prophetic.
I know, it's kind of weird, but I wrote suspense. That's what I started off as. I've written some romance because I like multiple genres. I've written dystopian, but I wanted to write a post-apocalyptic story. And I thought, well, what's something that could actually happen? And I thought, well, pandemics happen about every 100 years and we're overdue. So I'll write a story about a pandemic.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. It was scary because knowing that you wrote part of it before, or there's 3 books. Were all of them written before COVID?
There's 4 books. The 4th one came out in March of 2020. So I finished writing the series before COVID.
Okay. See, that's what's scary is it basically was exactly the same as COVID, except it took it up a notch. Like, what if it was 100 times worse?
Yeah.
It was kind of scary.
Well, so the crazy thing is, so I had written the first, there weren't a lot of sales at first because, just kind of there wasn't anything that interesting with pandemics. But then in January of 2020, because I don't know, I do watch a lot of news and see what's going on in the world. I saw what was happening in China where they were really locking people down. It's like, this is something different. This is not like a typical illness kind of thing. There's something weird going on here and it's probably going to come here. So in January, I started doing more prepping and just stocking up on food and things just in preparation because I could see, things might go in a bad direction. And, and interestingly, it was in like March 20th, I want to say, that everything kind of shut down. They canceled like the whole NBA season and it's like, wow, this is nuts. And I went to the grocery store, was it the next morning or maybe it was even that morning? But the next time I went, the shelves were like a lot of empty shelves.
Yeah.
Which was
people go crazy quick.
Yeah. And so that was interesting. But in my stories, I never use the phrase social distancing because I'd never heard that phrase before.
Yeah.
And I talk about face masks, but I call them like ear loop masks because that's like was the name. Like they weren't just masks. But people did go to Costco and stock up on water and toilet paper in my books.
Yep.
But yeah, thankfully, COVID was nothing like my series where 95% of the population dies.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah, it was crazy because yeah, I mean just the similarities. And oh, there's the cat. I see just
Oh,
moseying around. It looked like he was trying to ninja walk, so it was just kind of quiet. And I mean, some of the stuff you went into, of course, you went into a deeper apocalypse where everything really failed. And I mean, I worked with FEMA for a while, and I was down in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, and people think that stuff can't happen. And people, even after COVID, would read your books and say, well, that's cool fiction, but it can't happen. I, I've seen it happen. I mean, New
yeah.
Orleans, they went crazy. And some of in both series that I have here, you described situations in like a Home Depot, Lowe's kind of store.
Yeah.
And I've actually seen people fighting over lumber and stuff like that. I mean, it's crazy, and it actually does happen.
Yeah.
You
When
know?
you're down to survival and you want your family to survive, you're going to do whatever it takes to make that happen. And like, if there was a really bad pandemic or something where people were sick and couldn't come to work, the places that process water, water, sewage, and all that would pretty much shut down. Like there's nobody to run things, and so
Yeah.
things would kind of shut down.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Long.
Yeah. Now, one mistake I made reading these two different series is at first I read book one and then book one of the other, and
Oh,
I started, the families got mixed up, and so I finally had to like finish a series. And so I thought it was interesting in how like I could see both families like meeting up and hanging out and becoming a group. And so that kind of gets me to the family aspect of it. What did you draw from in your own life or anything like that? Because the family situation seemed very real. I mean, the way the teens reacted, neighborhoods, things like that.
well, I really like stories that focus on a small group of people. I don't love the ones where it's like thrillers where you're talking about things happening in the government. I like when you really get to know a family. I'm a mother of 4 children. They're all grown. I have 5 grandchildren. So, I've raised kids. And the area where the story takes place is a place I lived at one time. And so I'm very familiar with that area, and just, I based it a lot like, what would I do? And that's kind of how I decided what my characters would do. But then I added, like in the pandemic series, a Derek character who has a little more military background, and he became a little more prominent. Now, this is one thing when I write, I don't plot. I just kind of, it's called discovery writing or pantsing, where you just kind of write by the seat of your pants. Like, I didn't know Derek was going to exist until he showed up.
Okay. It doesn't come across unplotted. I mean, everything synced up really well.
I think my subconscious figures it out somehow.
Yeah.
But the EMP series, I'm still working on that one. Sadly, it's been 2 years since I released the 4th book, which usually I release a book every 4 or 5 months. So that one, I've just had some things taking up my mental energy, but I'm working on it, and it's
okay. Good.
Yeah, I want to finish
got
this year.
Theory about like authors like you, and like for me, Benedict Cumberbatch when he played Sherlock.
Yeah.
My theory is that when I love something so much, that actor or author should never do anything but that, so that I can always have that. And so I was going to ask you, like, you should do nothing but keep writing these books ever. And
I know.
Just keep rolling them out. That way, as soon as I finish one in 2 days, the other one's on the way from Amazon.
Yeah, I know. Well, and that's the thing, because we were talking about, or before we started recording, multiple income streams, and sometimes I get distracted by other things that aren't making me money necessarily yet. Just like I like multiple genres, I have multiple interests. So, but I do have a YouTube channel where I have my books available in audio. It's Christine Kersey Books, and so the pandemic series I had professionally narrated, but then a number of my other books I narrated them. And that took a lot of time. And that's a lot easier to narrate a book already written than to write a book. So it was easy to like spend time on that. And you get a result a lot quicker too than writing a book, because you can get an audio book out in a month, where it can take, several months to write a book.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And that's Christine Kersey Books on YouTube. That's the channel. Okay. Yeah, because everybody needs to check that out.
Yeah, it's free. Like and if people don't like the ads, because if you're not a YouTube premium member, there are ads. I have a Patreon that you can there's a link to it in my bio on YouTube, where it's like $5 a month to have ad-free access to all of my audiobooks. I think I have like 18 of them or something. Yeah. So that's out there. So yeah, that kind of distracted me. but I have been working on it. The book 5, it actually, book 5 might be different than what people are expecting, and not really a spoiler alert, kind of, but like the 4th book, how it ends with people going somewhere. The 5th book starts from the beginning again with the main character's sister and her family at their property in southern Utah. And so that's kind of starts from the beginning of the EMP. And then book 6 will be our group that we know from the first 4 books traveling down there. And then there'll be the 7th book where they're all together is my plan. But I have nothing else planned as far as what's going to happen. But I'm about 2/3 of the way done with book 5. So I just need to
good.
buckle down.
See, I'm happy, not happy that you mentioned that, because now I know it's coming, but I've still got to wait. I've got to practice some patience and wait on it.
Well, the cool thing though with being an indie author is I don't have to wait for somebody for it to go through some process. As soon as I'm done writing it, I have an editor that I've used, but sometimes, like the last 4, those EMP books, I didn't actually send through an editor because I've written 49 books, so I feel like I kind of know what I need to do, and so I can get it out really quick. It only takes, when I write, it's pretty clean as far as there's not a lot of mistakes, and so once the book's done, it takes me a couple days to edit, and then it's up there. So I just need to finish writing it.
Well, I got to be honest with you. For not using an editor, I didn't notice anything different. And so if that helps you get the book out quicker to me, then that's perfect.
Yeah.
And all those links, I'll get those from you and put them in the show notes, and that way people can go to the Patreon and the YouTube and everything. Awesome.
Yeah, but what's interesting is with audiobooks, I'm not an actress or an actor, whatever you want to say it, and I did okay with doing my own books. And with creating audiobooks, you may be aware of this I don't know if you've done any audiobooks, but it's quite expensive to hire a narrator. And so I had looked into using AI, and it used to be awful. Like, it just sounded very mechanical, but nowadays there's really good AI. And my last 2 books that I did in audio, which they're romances, I used AI, and they're very realistic. There's even like breathing as they're speaking. It's called 11 Labs. I don't know if you've heard of it.
No, I haven't. Write that down.
Yeah. It's quite time consuming to create the audiobook, because when you put it in there, you do like 1 line for each, you break the chapter up into sentences or a couple sentences, because it'll go through and you can assign voices so that it's a full cast audiobook, which is pretty cool. But if you don't like the way the sentence is said by the AI, you can regenerate it. It'll say it in a different way, and you can, it's really cool. So I've been using that because, I don't know, I just feel like it sounds better. I think it sounds better than I do.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
What differing opinions on that?
Yeah, because I've converted a couple of, KDP's got the audio beta thing going on, and I've converted some of my nonfiction books over. But you know how you can only pick 1 voice in there, and there's only like 8 choices. I did not know you could do what you're talking about with different voices for everything. That's pretty cool.
Now, you can't sell those. Okay, the tricky thing with that is you're limited where you can sell them. Like, you can put them on YouTube. You can sell them on, well, actually, a lot of places don't take AI books. Like Google, I think will. They also provide their own. And if you do an audiobook through Google that's with their voices, you can actually sell that through Spotify or Findaway Voices. But I don't know if the quality is as good. And if I already spent 50 hours creating an audiobook that I'd meticulously, curated each sentence, I don't want to just throw it into Google just so I can sell it somewhere else. So I also sell my audiobooks directly on my website, christinekersey.com. But but I prefer this 11 Labs because you can really control, and it sounds great, and they're continuously improving. So
that's pretty cool. So you're helping me out too. I was here to interview you, but you're giving me some gold here for myself.
Yeah, I'm passionate about indie author stuff because, like, I published my first book in 1997 with a small regional publisher, but then I didn't publish any books for a while, and then in 2010 I published. No, not 1997. Sorry, that's when I started writing. It was 2006, I think. And then it was a few years later that I learned about indie author stuff. It's like end of 2010 that I put up my first book on Amazon. So I've been doing it quite a while, and it's really changed over the years. But it's
You remember the old days when you had to upload the movie files and all that kind of stuff to KDP?
It was just a Word file you would upload. Now I use what's it called? I have it right here. Let's see. Vellum. Have you heard of Vellum?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great for formatting. But yeah,
And hopefully I've got some authors or emerging authors that are going to listen to this and they're just going to get jazzed and say, wow, I didn't know it was that easy and didn't know I could do it that well.
Yeah. Well, nowadays too, like your main expense is if you want to hire an editor, that can be expensive. But your book cover, there's pre-made book covers that can be less than $100, and it doesn't cost anything to upload your files to Amazon or any of the other retailers. Like right now, my books are wide, so they're on Barnes and Noble, Google, Kobo, Apple, and Amazon. But I may pull some of them back to being in Kindle Unlimited. For books to be in Kindle Unlimited, they have to be exclusive to Amazon. And it's 90 days that you commit to, and then you can pull them out again, but you don't want to go back and forth. And you get paid. Do you know much about Kindle Unlimited?
Not much, no.
Okay.
You can go ahead and give us the bare bones if you got it.
Yeah. So I love it as a reader. They've raised the price. It's like $11.99 a month. But if you want to, you can borrow up to 10 books at a time and keep them as long as you want, as long as you're paying your monthly fee. But you can read, if you read a lot of books, it's a good way to save money. And authors get paid. It's less than half a penny per page read. So it's not a lot, but it can add up. And some authors will take, maybe they'll take 4 books. And like if I were to take my pandemic series and bundle it into one book, and then maybe you'll do a sale, a 99-cent sale, because maybe you've seen this where there's a bundle of books for 99 cents. You're like, man, how can they make any money on that? Yeah. Well, the way they make money is if they're in Kindle Unlimited, people will borrow them and you can make a good amount of money because it's a lot of pages.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. But when you're in Kindle Unlimited, you're exclusive to Amazon. Now you can sell on Amazon and not be exclusive to them if it's not in Kindle Unlimited. You're just selling there. You're not part of the Kindle Unlimited library program, which people get sometimes. Katie is just their digital publishing arm, and KU is a part of that. And it's great. It's great because you can, especially if you're new, it's a good way to get exposure. People can try you out without having to spend money if they are a KU subscriber. So it's a good way to kind of get your foot in the door. But then it's nice to also be able to have your books everywhere. And for example, right now, pandemic, I have it free on all retailers, because if you make it free on like Barnes & Noble, Apple, and then Amazon will price match that and it'll be permanently free. It's called perma-free on their site. And that's sometimes, that used to be a really good method. People try your book out, they get caught up in the story, they like your writing, and then they'll buy the other books in the series. Yeah. Now it's harder to stand out because there's so many books out there. It's hard to give your voice sometimes. Yeah. I'm kind of Amazon. I'm glad it's so easy that you can publish on Amazon now, but everybody's doing it. I mean, everybody with all these blank notebooks and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And they actually, when you upload, there's a checkbox you have to say if you use any AI in the creation of your book, which is good. Now, I don't know what they're going to do with that information, because there are programs that can help you write a book. I've considered like using one to help me finish this book, but I'm like, I can't. I've written 49 books, all the words on my own. It feels wrong, but some people do that. And that's just, it's interesting. Just like people don't like sometimes I think it's called DALL-E, where you can create images, which I haven't played around with, or there's things where it combines different images from other sources and creates new things. There's like, it's a little slippery. That's a copyright quagmire there. So just be aware of that. But even if you use one of these programs to write a book, like you still have to have some skills to be able to, you're not just going to want to use it as is. Yeah. I just hope people don't use that, because I don't know. It's better if people are actually writing it from their own imagination. Yeah. Because I've used AI a little bit, mostly for basic research and just to get my brain moving, bullet point list. And it still sounds a little computerish. And I mean, you can tell the difference if you're a good reader. I'll tell you what, tell me about, because if I look in the front of the book here, I see all the different series that you've written. Would you mind giving us a rundown of each series, like just the basic plotline of the series? And that way, if the readers aren't, because I'll nerd out about apocalyptic stuff all day long. And so if the readers want to get into suspense, romance, tell us about what all you write. Okay. Well, so I have the 2 post-apocalyptic series. I have a dystopian series that's kind of a passion project, but it's called the Parallel World series. There's 5 books, It's about a parallel world where it's illegal to be overweight. And I love that series. It's the main character is 16, but adults would enjoy it as well. So I don't know. That one's like a favorite of mine, and that's available in audio that I narrated myself on my YouTube channel if people want to check it out. So there's those, and then I have a couple books that are standalone suspense. I've got a series called Witness. There's 2 books where a college student witnesses a murder, and the murderer sees her and knows they know each other, and she's terrified to report it to the police. So there's that series. That's also audiobook on my YouTube channel. I've got a number of romances, and they're clean and wholesome romance. So there's there's 49 books. So there's there's a 6-book series. Each book's a standalone, but they're tied together because it's about football players on a fictitious team called the Sacramento Vipers.
Okay.
Is
that the Fair Catch romance?
Yeah, that's a Fair Catch series.
Okay.
There is a series called Searching for Love. That's a 4-book series that they all go together. So you want to read those in order. There's a series I wrote early on in my writing, Lily's Story. That's a 4-book series about one character and how she goes to college. She gets involved with this guy who ends up being abusive, and she has to go on the run and have a false identity, and just kind of her story. There's a romantic suspense series called Over You. There's 2 books with a follow-up book in it. And that follow-up book is also part of my Emerald Falls series, which are standalone romances that in a small town where the characters cross over and know each other, but they're standalone.
I love that kind of stuff in TV shows where we have the crossover and everything.
Yes, that's very popular.
Yeah.
There's
the Billionaire series. What's that?
Oh, yeah. That's my most popular on YouTube, actually. Yeah. Secret Billionaire is my best performing for a year now.
Okay.
And those 4 billionaire books, they're all standalone, just about a billionaire. My favorite kind of idea is these billionaires, the woman doesn't know they're billionaires. I don't know why the guy always has to be the billionaire, but he is. But she doesn't know he is. So she falls in love with him as him and not because of his money. And then it's like this surprise. Yeah. Turns out he's a billionaire.
Oh, me and my wife love movies like that.
Yeah, yeah. And The Secret Billionaire, maybe it's the title. That's far and away does the best on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, okay.
Let's see, we've
got Park City Firefighter.
Oh yeah, so there's 2 books where they're standalone romances. The characters know each other because they work at the same fire station. And the interesting thing is I wrote this with some friends of mine, and I had an editor at the time, and he writes also, and he's also a firefighter, so that was fun. So you can make sure all the facts are correct. Then there's the Last First Kiss series. There's 2 books in that. Those are also standalone. I have a lot of standalone romances. Early on, I would do series where you make the first one free, then people would buy the others. But then as time went on, standalone romances became popular where they were tied together. So I have those as well. I think I covered them all. So, yeah.
That's pretty cool, though, because, I mean, if people like your writing, because, I mean, I love apocalyptic fiction just because a lot of my career was in emergency management. And but I also love with my kids young adult dystopian, and so that overweight one sounds pretty cool. I'll have to check that one out next.
Yeah,
since you're gonna make me hold off a little bit for your next book in the other series, I'll check out the parallel worlds.
There you go. Yeah.
All right. So as far as streams of income go, you've mentioned of course YouTube and monetizing YouTube, I guess. Patreon. Books themselves in different formats. What other streams of income do you have as an author or outside of author?
So all the author ones are what you mentioned, and I don't know if people know, you've probably talked about this, how to get monetized on YouTube, but briefly, you have to have 4,000 hours of listening or viewing and 1,000 subscribers, and that can take quite a bit of time. Yeah. Now, I was fortunate with my audiobook series, my YouTube channel, it took me 13 days because in like 3 days or less, I had the hours because I put up my pandemic series, and this was at the end of
that's a great tactic. I mean, just long form videos.
Yeah,
that's perfect.
That was quick because people like that, but then it took a little longer to get the subscribers. So that was great. But then I have another channel completely unrelated where I do tutorials on how to create digital planners called Planners by Christine. And that took 8 months. But, I wasn't putting stuff up as often because it's a side thing.
Yeah.
So that
8 months is no joke, though. People spend years trying to do that. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it helped because I belonged to some Facebook groups for digital planners. I said, hey, here's a tutorial on how to do this, and that would get people over. And also I create digital planners and sell them on Etsy. And I want to spend more time on that because I really enjoy doing it, because I have a degree in information technology, so I enjoy technical things. So I enjoy creating those, and I've already created my 2025 planner. I'm still working on it, but so that's completely unrelated as far as writing. But yeah, so that's another stream. I actually have another YouTube channel called Christine Kersey Camps. I have like not even 100 subscribers because my husband and I like to truck camp. In fact, we just got back from Yellowstone last week. And because I enjoy watching YouTubers, van lifers, and people who full-time in their truck campers.
Oh, I love the van life crowds.
Yeah. So I thought, oh, what the heck, I'll go ahead and do it. And even just to document for my kids or just for us, our trips. So this, so that's not monetized. That's just more for fun.
Not yet.
And I haven't even told anyone this except my husband, but I just started doing.
I'm getting a free reveal here.
I know. I haven't even told my kids, but I've just started doing a thing where I'm creating t-shirts, because there's ways you can do that. I haven't sold any yet because I just barely did it. And I'm just like really early in it. But like one's about camping, one's going to be about reading and books, things that I enjoy. So, but see, this is why I haven't been doing as much writing. I get distracted by these other things.
Yeah. So you doing like the print on demand t-shirts and stuff?
Yeah.
Or okay,
yes.
That's cool. What service are you using?
Well, see, this is what I've learned as I was researching it. Some people use like Printify or Printful, and they'll sell through Etsy, but that's more of an active source where you have to bring people to those sites. But then I learned there's a better way, a passive way, where it's called Redbubble or TeePublic, where they have their own people that people come there specifically to look. Now, my next step is to apply to Amazon Merch on Demand, which I need to do, and sell there, because that way, and so they bring their own shoppers. You can send people there, but the ones on Etsy, of course, people do look on Etsy too. I don't know. I'm still learning, but it's like, this is cool. And it's fun to create designs because I use Canva. Because I already have a Canva Pro membership, but you have to be careful because you can't just take an image and slap it on there. You've got to make some changes to it to make it okay to sell. So yeah, there's that area as well that I just barely have started and I haven't sold anything yet. And I want to do some more merch that's more related to my books.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of digging into that. So.
Okay. Oh man, I could see some amazing, like, I don't know, just team, with a family name or something, team such and such, like, dealing with your books or something, or a new governor of California kind of.
Well, I'm from California.
That's pretty cool.
I'm from California originally, and we moved out of California in 1999. So it's been like 25 years. So when my family in the pandemic series travels to California, I've had people comment, I don't know why they'd go there, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, I lived in San Jose. That's where I went to high school and such. And then we lived in the Central Valley, which I don't know if you're familiar. It's south of San Joaquin Valley. Huge for agriculture. And so that's why I had the people in the pandemic go there, because there's really good agriculture land. But of course, there's some areas there that aren't the best. But so, when I wrote it in that book, like Insurrection, I wrote in 2019 and finished it up in early 2020. Things weren't as kind of crazy as they are now. Like people look through the lens of what it looks like now. But when I wrote it, that's not how it was.
Yeah, but even so, I mean, the plot line, the way it still was a little bit crazy. I mean, I don't want to reveal anything, but you did a great job. I mean, like I say, it's almost prophetic how crazy it is.
I know. And then, the funny thing too is I actually called their pandemic, it was called the bird flu.
Yeah.
And lately you've heard about the bird flu. I'm like, no.
Oh, yeah, it's coming back again.
Oh. And then, and then the EMP, like, I mean, it could happen it's happened with the Carrington event, with the coronal mass ejection of the sun, like that could actually happen. But then we also have bad actors in the world who would love to like bring us to our knees. And so, that's a terrifying, that's a terrifying thing to consider.
And it wasn't too far back. We had the magnetic storms that I was reading an article how they upset GPS systems. And I was even reading about like farmers where they're using GPS guided tractors and stuff. Like it affected our food. Yeah. And in ways that people don't realize. Yeah. And, that's pretty scary.
I was following that to kind of see how strong those CMEs were going to be. And luckily nothing was bad enough to really be noticeable to the average person.
Yeah.
You never know.
Just bad enough to where people ignored it, and next time they won't pay attention.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh, cool, I can see the aurora borealis," but it's like that's
Yeah.
probably not really a good thing if you could see it that far south.
Yeah, definitely not a good thing.
Yeah.
And one thing I want to point out is because I deal with a lot of people that have multiple streams and they jump at every shiny penny and try everything. Is though even though you're busy with a lot of stuff and some things go on hold, but all your streams still deal around core things like your passions. And
Yeah.
it's not like every stream is so separated that I have to stop everything to work on this. And that's one thing I always want people to realize is you can have so many multiple streams, but it's better if they complement one another and you're passionate about them.
Right. Because the digital planners is not really anything to do with writing, but the t-shirts, I can tie those together and sell merch, and it's things that I'm passionate about. Even with my camping, if that channel grows at all, then there's camping related stuff. Yeah. But that's a trouble though. It's like, for me, I get really focused on something and it's easy to everything else to fall to the side and just really focus on it. And it's like, wait, okay, I should be spending 80% of my time on my writing because that's a guaranteed income. And the thing is, since I haven't put a book out in 2 years, my income really starts to drop. Like if you don't put a book out every few months on Amazon, income starts to go down. But luckily YouTube, I make more money on YouTube than Amazon right now. So, but
that's good.
Yeah. But back in the day when I first started, because it was so new, like I made really good money early on. But then as more and more people came in publishing books and the market became saturated, it's a little harder to stand out.
Yeah.
But people still do. People still do break out.
Oh yeah, and another thing I like to note, a lot of your streams too. I mean, I know the writing is a lot of work to get it done, but I love the idea of just once you do something, you put it out there, and it just sells itself. Whether you're sleeping, whether you're camping,
Yes.
And I just love that idea.
Yeah.
And maybe you need to start doing some readings, like video readings of your books beside a campfire or something.
That's a good idea. Yeah, that's an interesting idea.
Especially the romance novels.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I did create the audiobooks. And the first books that I actually did in audio, it was the Parallel World series because I just love that series. And the first book, I actually recorded myself doing it because I'm like, this is YouTube, so you want to have a visual. But then I was new at it, and I just went. Some people said I went too fast. One person in particular, she's like, "You ruined it. You went too fast." Okay. So I ended up re-recording the entire book, and it was an hour longer.
Oh, well, that's more YouTube time.
Yeah, it's like you can slow it down, but it doesn't sound as good if you do that. But then when I redid it, I didn't record myself. My face. I just, did the audio because it's more work because you need to be aware of how you're appearing. You want to wear the same shirt for the whole chapter if you have to redo a sentence. It was way too much effort. So I don't do that. And so what authors do is they'll just have like an image of their book that's a static image, or some authors will do a video, but that can make the file really large.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's an interesting area. And I actually had considered doing audiobooks a while ago. I thought, is that even really allowed on there? But then a friend of mine, she did hers, and I'm like, okay, I think I'm going to try this too. And so like a month later, I put mine up. So it's great that there's multiple ways, because if you sell your books on Audible, if you're exclusive, you get 40% royalty. And here's the thing, the authors 100% cover the cost of creating the audiobook unless you're doing a royalty share, but then you are committed to being on Audible only, I think.
Yeah.
It used to be that way. But if you just pay the narrator out of pocket, it's you're the one who pays for it. Amazon owns Audible. So Audible sets the price, you can't control that. They keep 60% of their proceeds. And all they're doing is hosting it on their server and delivering it.
Yeah.
Now, if you're not exclusive with them, you get 25%. But it's better to not be exclusive and sell. There's multiple other places, which I'm kind of looking into how I want to do that, because I've just been focused on YouTube, but there's a lot of other places you can sell. So there are, that's another, as an author, you can sell your books on Amazon, and you can do ebooks and print, and you can do print on demand, where you upload the cover, it's a PDF, and the interior, which is also a PDF. Yeah. And so you upload those, it doesn't cost anything, and people can order them and print on demand. And then you have your ebook. So there's those two streams, and then you can do an audiobook, which now with AI, some people are very against that. They feel like it's taking money away from narrators. It's like, yeah, but I couldn't afford to spend $3,000 or more per book because you're just not going to get the money back. So I have to do something affordable. So it's not like I'm taking money away. I never would have hired him in the first place. So those are 3 areas. And with audiobooks, there are more places now that you can sell them. So that's another income stream.
Yeah.
And then branching out to merch and things like that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, it's just, there's so many options. It's amazing.
Yeah.
All right. So as we get ready to start closing down, one question I always like to ask everybody, and sometimes this is a hard one. If you could only choose one stream of income, and maybe it's one you already do, or one that you've wanted to do and wanted to try, and you're stuck with that one for the rest of your life, what would your stream be?
For me, it'd be my books.
Okay.
But you can't have an audiobook unless you've written the book first. So they kind of go hand in hand. But definitely, that's where I make my income. I hardly make anything with my planner's business. That's just because it's fun. For me, it's an easy choice. My books, my author stuff, that's my main thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. It's kind of the question I get a lot of different. Some of the answers go along the way of like, I just want to keep doing what I'm doing. I interviewed a martial arts guy the other day, lifelong martial arts, and he said, you know what, I want to be a speaker. And he just wanted to convey all the experience into telling stories from the stage. And it's just interesting. Sometimes people dream about things they want to do and they never do it. And other times people are doing what they want to do and they just want to do more of it.
Well, I'm fortunate because my husband supports me in doing this. You know, even though my income fluctuates, he's supportive. So I'm fortunate that way, because if we were completely relying on my income right now, I probably would have to find some other income streams, like a regular 9-to-5 job or something, because just the markets, I know, don't want to do that.
W-2 job.
I know, because I went back to school when my youngest was in first grade and graduated with my degree in IT about 20 years ago and worked in that field for about 9 years. And then I was making more money with my books than I was working IT. And so I quit to write full time in 2013. So it's been 11 years. So it'd be tough to go back to that. Plus we're getting to the age where we'll be retiring in the next, 5 to 10 years. So it'd be really hard to even find a job probably at my age, but well,
who wants to go back to a job when you can go camping?
Exactly. I know that's our dream, to do lots of camping, and we love to visit national parks. So check out Christine Kersey camps.
Yeah. And I got two hip campsites here on my farm. If you ever make it to South Carolina, just pull up the van and we'll get you hooked up with electricity and whatever.
Cool. Yeah, I've never been there. That would be really fun to visit. Sounds like a beautiful area.
South Carolina is a lot like Utah, but southern. So just Utah with more rednecks.
Okay. Yeah. And see, the thing though, I know about that humidity, because
oh my goodness,
I like it dry.
Yeah. I mean, my beard frizzes out and everything. It's just horrible.
Yeah. So, but it's good for your skin.
Yep. Well, tell you what, before we close out, is there anything I've forgotten to ask or anything you want to get across? And I'll get the links from you for sure and put all those in the show notes and hopefully send you 1 million new readers.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. No, I think that was it, but I really enjoyed chatting with you.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on, and have an awesome day.
Thank you. You too.